Just waiting on that. There we go. Okay, so first up, there's not too much on governance updates. We have the recent CP136, which basically fixes the Centrifuge Council back to the original state and improves the security, applying fixes from the Cantina liquidity pools audit. And this was passed 22 days ago, but the chain was just upgraded on Monday, so we'll be seeing those effects now. Evan, do you mind dropping that forum post in the chat, just in case anyone wants to take another look? So it's runtime upgrade CP159. Quite technical, but important to reference it. So unless anyone wants to contribute anything else, it doesn't have to be a proposal that's passed on chain. It can actually be a reflection on governance or a noticing from the wide world of DeFi or even Web3 governance before we move on. But I would be interested to hear. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, sorry for being late. I was having issues with my Zoom for some reason.
All good, no problem. We're just doing a couple of governance updates, and I was just making an invitation for any noticings on broader reflections in what is happening in DeFi governance or even Web3 more generally. And one thing I was going to mention is that what I'm seeing is there's quite a lot of demand for more automation or more AI-supported governance is something that I'm seeing occur across the wider governance the wider governance. And I'm wondering if anyone else is noticing that, or if anyone knows about any projects that are using AI to assist their governance processes or collaborating with AI-assisted governance tools. I know that Filecoin is one that is looking into that. So we'll be watching with close interest to see what happens there, and we'll be paying attention to this subject in the future in terms of centrifuge governance. So how can AI help us govern the protocol? Any ideas also welcome there.
I think Arbitrum is also using the AI tool for tracing the activity on-chain and off-chain for the delegates, because their governance is quite big. But yeah.
So it's about tracing and providing information.
Yeah, about the activity, because they distribute the points, additional points based on the activity on the forum, on chain voting. So in order to trace more than 100 people, they're using AI.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's start forum post. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
let me jump in quickly. I don't have much info about this like governance with AI agents, but it's definitely interesting part. The thing I saw, I guess recently I came across with a project which is provides AI agents for blockchain governance by tracking on-chain data and daily messages. It's just basically AI agent goes for the updates, goes for the signs and transactions, and keep you updated. I think this can be also applicable for our governance process.
Great. Yeah, let's start the conversation. Thanks for that input. And welcome anyone joining. We are just doing governance updates and having a quick discussion on how AI agents can assist us in governing different protocols. But let's move on. And we have Graham on the Centrifuge token migration to EVM. The floor is yours, Graham. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'll just share, I guess, if it works. Let me make sure I get the right thing so no one can see my OSTM trading. Give me a minute. I never know with Zoom. Tell me, can everyone see my screen?
It is still black.
A black screen.
Yeah. Okay, we try this one.
Nothing.
Wait. Okay, wait. No. Wait. So I see there was a message about, do I give Zoom permission to record my screen? There you go. Okay. Everyone should see it now. Amazing.
Yeah.
Great. So I think as many of governance participants will know, or CFG token holders might have seen, or I've heard, or if you've been in this call before, you would have known that we were doing a token migration from Centrifuge, or we're starting a token migration from Centrifuge chain to a new EVM-based ERC20 token with CFG. I know it can be a bit confusing. We started that yesterday, so it's possible now to migrate your tokens. And just some things to note is that we're also migrating the wrap CFG token. So this would be the one that would have been on Ethereum. And the reason why we're just consolidating everything into a single token is that it just sets us up better for the future. And we've got the right token ticker as well as governance functionality built into the token. So when we're ready to launch governance on Ethereum to govern the V3 protocol and we launch there, everything is in the right place. So the conversion, very simple. For every one CFG you have, you'll get one CFG in return. You're able to migrate your tokens now via the Centrifuge app. So if you just go to the app, you go to portfolio, you connect your wallet, you'll see a migrate button for the tokens that you can migrate. And so I think there were some questions previously, but the team have done a really good job in just conversations around with a few exchanges. So KuCoin will support the migration. We have a new exchange, MEXC. Gate announced today that they will be supporting the migration as well over the next few days or weeks. They haven't given us a timeline, but they've just mentioned that they will support it, which is great news. And then we are working with others like Kraken and Coinbase just to confirm the time that they will support it. They will support it, but we're just waiting for a time frame when they'll be ready to support it, which will be pretty good. I mean, there's some videos just to show you how you can do it. I will see if it plays. These will also be added to the governance post as well, but it's very simple. This is the wrap CFG migration. You approve the app spending your tokens for swap, your wrap CFG tokens for swap. You sign the message. Very simply, come back, it'll do the transaction, and then you'll be able to submit the new transaction for the swap. This one takes a bit longer, but yeah, it opens up the window again. You would swap. You can see the one-to-one trade there. And voila, you'll get the new CFG tokens. Very simple, a few clicks. The CFG migration from Centrifuge chain has a little bit more complexity. The only difference here is that you're just asking to sign a message, and this just allows us to verify that you actually have control of that account. It's like a safety measure. You click on migrate, and you migrate your tokens. It's important to note for the CFG migration, there's a fee based on Ethereum gas prices to migrate across, and it is varying. It was 25. It's gone up a little bit now, but if gas goes down, it'll go down. And I think this video is just edited for its efficiencies, but it can take, if you are doing your CFG migration from Centrifuge chain to Ethereum, it can take anywhere between 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. So it's just important to note that it won't be instant. It might take a few minutes. What I don't have on here is that if you have any support issues or any issues, you're welcome to use the Centrifuge DAO Slack or message in Discord if there are any kind of issues that you might be facing, and we'll try and address it. The main issue we have now is just the gas fee incorrect, but we're keeping on top of it and monitoring it so that if that issue does arise, that it shouldn't be such a blocker for you guys. Cool. And awesome. That is it. Any questions for everybody?
Do you see that one in the chat, Graham?
About asking for my private key? Yeah, welcome.
From my side, sorry, I can talk it right now. We are collators in the chain. So what about the collators after the token migration to EVM? Will we still be needed?
Maybe a question for Ivan. Maybe not the best to answer it. Or if Jeroen's on the call. I don't see Jeroen.
May I have a question as well?
Yeah, maybe let's just answer this one. Sorry, Kurt. I think we just got to answer this one first before you ask.
Oh, sorry. I thought, yeah. Well,
Let's go.
Yeah, probably I can. Yeah, probably I can answer this question a little bit. So, the collectors will still be needed. The migration will end on 30th of November. But probably the collectors will still be around for additional couple of months. But technically, with full migration from Polkadot, the collectors will be sunsetted.
So is that clear, Valerie? With full
Yeah.
migration?
Yeah,
Oh,
thanks.
yeah.
Thanks.
We still don't have like the end date for the collators. That definitely will be sometime more after November, but yeah, the final answer is yes.
Thank you.
Just maybe I see Matthew asked it. So Kurt, do you want to ask your question in the chat? I'll take them from there and maybe it's easier. Matthew asked, how does the migration of CFG to EVM affect Centrifuge services? Matthew, do you mind sharing what services you are talking about?
We have Ryan. Ryan, would you like to ask your question?
Okay,
This
Ryan, yeah.
probably kind of piggybacks off Matthew. So obviously, one thing that, I've been working with the ADE team, and we still wanted to move forward with putting up an on-chain vote. We had waited for the changing of the counselors, which only happened a couple days ago. And so that was primarily my question in terms of the governance aspects of Centrifuge, how quickly this is going to be migrated to EVM. Should I, should I still just put up the one on the substrate chain as I've done in the past? Do we know when we're going to sunset the governance functions on the parachain as it is running now, when that's going to be moved over to an EVM chain? Are these things going to be done on ETH mainnet only? I mean, I know you're deploying, that's part of it is the multi-chain approach, right? So not that it might be prohibitively expensive to do things on mainnet, but I didn't know if like the main governance functions were going to exist, because many of these things now exist as forks on all other types of EVM environments, like on Moonbeam, for instance, you can use Snapshot and that kind of stuff. So I didn't know what the plans were in terms of the timeline for migrating governance functions over to an EVM environment.
Okay, I think there were two questions there. I think, firstly, just to answer the first question, I think the services will continue to exist, and I would still suggest to do your service the application for on Centrifuge governance today. Anything at the point in time that Centrifuge govern migrates to Ethereum, we can continue the service streams that are currently going. It's not going to simply end, right? The governance token holders have voted for it. So on that, then I think on the Centrifuge EVM governance, we haven't really come to a final decision what it'll look like. I think in the first version of it, it will be off-chain voting, so it won't cost anything to vote when we kick off. So it'll be a version of off-chain voting, and then we will obviously evolve the governance procedure on EVM to be more on-chain as we go forward for bigger things. But I think that's still to be decided, and we'll still have to go through governance, right? So the new form of the governance will all have to go through governance again, for token holders to decide what the approach will be there.
Yes. Just wanting to see if
sorry.
everyone wants to add anything to that. Graham, or are you good, Ivan?
Yeah, you can answer the first question from Ryan, that happy to assist for submitting the proposal on Substrat chain. So as you said, yes, we replaced the counselor due to issue on Monday. So right now we are full set. I can submit it on chain voting whenever you can need. So just ping me and we can do this.
Okay,
I see
great.
a question. Sorry, the next question just on hydration. I do believe that it would be delisted. I know Ivan's been working on that, but I think it will still be there for now. But Ivan.
Just 1 second.
Okay, maybe he looks.
Yeah, So I mean, we asked Hydration to support the migration. We're still trying to finalize it if they will support it, but Centrifuge token on Substrate will be available until 30th of November. So it is up to them if they would like to keep it. We still have the loan on the graduation, so I think that should still be okay until the end of the migration window. We provided 1.2 million to hydration as a liquidity.
Okay,
Cool.
thank you.
Thanks. Is the CFG token of Centrifuge chain burned? Yes, it's burned. Well, it's currently locked at the moment. It's not burned. I know, maybe no, it is burned. And then the how to go to. So we're working with CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap to list the new token correctly. So you'll see already today on CoinGecko that the wrap CFG token now has got an old next to it because it is the old one. Then obviously as the migration goes across, the more TVL and everything would look correct on the CoinGecko version. So yeah, I just wanted to say like it is working and the CFG tokens are burnt. The token migration, yeah, the November 30th. I mean, I'm not too sure about Matthew's question. Essentially, borrowing and lending services, they run on Polkadot. Like, I don't know what borrowing and lending services, but like anything that's running next to Centrifuge chain on Polkadot should be, I mean, on the Centrifuge chain should be discontinued. It'll shut off when this chain stops working. The rest of the protocol will be migrated across to Ethereum.
I mean, if you're referring to borrowing and lending to the app or like the pools, so the pools will migrate to Ethereum. Erica, maybe I can ask you one question if you don't mind. So in Discord, a lot of users asked us, and also on Twitter, what they should do if they have the tokens on ledgers. Can they use the application with Ledger? So
yeah, it's a good question. Due to, I guess, the compatibility between Ledger and, I guess, Tailsman, it's not possible, right? So I would suggest potentially transferring to like a Tailsman wallet and then doing the migration from there. Because unfortunately, like, you know, I think it's a limitation of what a little bit of Polkadot is just that it's support on the wallet side with your wallets with ledgers. So unfortunately, you would have to do that.
okay, great, thank you.
I see the next ladder because the migration will take time and there'll be e.g. 250 million tokens on Centrifuge chain and say another 100 on Ethereum. Yeah, I mean, just Mike, I think if you're worrying about there being too much supply floating around, like between all three, it should never be more than like the total max supply. And that'll be correct. It's just that we need to work with it's essentially very difficult working with all these providers because they're very difficult to get a hold of and you have to pay quite a bit of money to get support from them. So we are working on making sure that everything looks like one. Okay.
Okay, I think we can. Yep, so Kuru Polkadotters has been answered in the chat. Is there any last question while we're on this topic before we move on?
I have one question, Ishwar, here for the migration to the Ethereum ecosystem. I know the gas fee right now it is not that busy, but if there are some people with a smaller amount of tokens and if they want to move to Ethereum, it might not be really feasible with respect to the gas and the price ratio. How would the team like to address that one? If they want to migrate from
Yeah, I would just say just wait until the gas fees are a bit lower on Ethereum and then do the migration. Like you have quite an open window to do it, and then my recommendation would be just to wait until a Sunday and do it like then, and the gas fee should be much lower.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe we can add a couple of these FAQs to the migration forum post and direct people there who are not in this call.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay, great. Okay, so we'll wrap up there. Thank you, Graham, for that. Thank you for question holders, and we'll move on to John with deRWA.
Awesome. Thank you. Kate. So I can quickly cover a new product that we're in the midst of bringing to market, which we think is very compelling and interesting, and kind of fills in a pretty significant gap and opportunity that we see in the market. So I just posted a blog post that we had our marketing team and Maria had posted last week about it, if anyone wants to review it, but maybe talking through really quickly, how we found the opportunity, what we see as the opportunity, and then how we sort of are capitalizing on it. So I think all of us know here that RWAs have caught pretty significant steam over the last 6-12 months. We've seen significant growth in them more generally, and kind of have found what we believe to be a product market fit with certain user groups as to how they can be a compelling way to diversify balance sheets for foundations and treasuries, and use them in different ways. What we've found, however, in speaking with many different parties and setting up lending and borrowing pools, and going through different protocols and all of those builds, is that the permissioning can cause some clunky processes around actually acquiring the assets. So you have to go through a pretty lengthy KYB off-chain process to acquire these RWAs. There's limited DeFi compatibility because in order to actually transfer the ownership between these RWAs, you have to actually sign a form. And then there's been a ton of concentration on the buy side, and we see this sort of in ours, but also in some of the bigger players. Like, I think there are only 4 or 5 wallets that are holding BIDL's token. There's like 80+% concentration in Ondo's short-term treasury token. And so we've seen kind of, yes, RWAs have found a fit, but there are certain pieces that we believe are still missing. And so it's those kind of that lack of a good user experience, combined with the fact that we see stablecoin growth growing exponentially, as well as high quality asset issuers looking to come on chain. Now you have like Apollo and their ACRED fund. We have some of the other larger names out there as well. And so this sort of caused us to create a new product that we think is very interesting, and that's freely transferable RWAs, or deRWAs, that are specifically built for the DeFi ecosystem more generally. And so what that actually means is that you can mint these RWAs in a permissionless fashion. You need to KYC to redeem, but with certain liquidity and market makers in place, that's not necessarily an issue. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to go actually after borrowing and lending markets and provide users a smooth experience. It allows us to open up looping strategies, which is what Apollo is doing right now with Gauntlet. So we see that being as a potential opportunity for us going forward with some of the products that we'll be bringing on. The collateral use case as well. So you see a lot of these custodians now creating these off-chain settlement networks. There's always been sort of an issue with the KYB, who owns the token, but now with this permissionless, freely transferable version, that clears that up. And then of course it opens you up to a new market, which could potentially be a retail market. So you look at, everyone that has wallets within different ecosystems, do they look for a cash management solution to hold in a stable, conservative, yield bearing source? And we think the answer is yes. So we're super excited about this. We're working on launching it into some different ecosystems over the next couple of months. And I think the one thing to call out is that Securitize has their synthetic token, the S tokens, which they've had for a little while now. I think we set ours apart from theirs in a pretty attractive way, in the sense that you can mint directly. So with SBIDL and BIDL, for example, Securitize's version with BlackRock, you actually have to acquire BIDL before you can actually mint the SBIDL. Here you can mint directly, as well as yield. I believe yield is only paid out to the primary token, and then of course there's like an accounting aspect to that. But ours will be sort of that direct correlation between the yield process there. So again, we're super excited about this. I think that it fills a pretty significant gap in the market. And yeah, we've been working on it for a little while and are excited to bring it to market. If there are any questions or anything like that, happy to talk through. And then, of course, we have that blog, and we'll be sharing more materials and all of that over the coming weeks.
Do you know if this, John, and this is maybe a technical question, I don't know if you would know the answer to this, if it's going to still incorporate that private data layer that's been part of sort of the Centrifuge tech stack in the past?
That I'm not 100% certain of, but we can definitely get a response on that very quickly and send it over to you.
I know that was, yeah, kind of a critical thing for what ADE was building.
Yeah, we can let me get that for you and we can follow up there.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's
Okay,
key to note that this is sort of like another product, right? It's not like everything will transition to this structure. There will sort of be now this DeFi sort of compatible tokens and then the primary issuance tokens that we've always had.
okay. Thank you, John, and congratulations. Let's move on to the last topic of today's call, which is Cesar and the tag report. We can see your screen, but we can't hear you.
It should be okay right now. Hello, everybody. I'm Cesar from Treasury Advisor Group. This is our latest report for our Centrifuge Treasury. It's based on first half of this year. So on the executive summary, I would like to underline a couple of things. Our current price is around $0.2 by the time we prepare this report. Total value locked is breaking new all-time highs. It's around $531 million. We have around 30 million CFG in our treasury balance. For the total cumulative origination, we have originated like $700 million worth of assets. On the treasury activity, we had 2 treasury proposals for the first half of this year. One of them approved, one of them rejected, and for the approved one, we allocated 164,590 CFG. We have seen some notable developments, and also there are some project milestones that's also been ongoing. Thanks to the BD team, there's also Centrifuge V3 and RWA Launchpad, decentralized RWA token launch, as they mentioned. Lots of partnerships, GRSTY rating upgrade, Sparks tokenization grant brings, Centrifuge 1, and now we got the additional assets, and Centrifuge token migration to Ethereum. For the outlook, the main difference is comparing to the previous report, we broke the record with the TVL 531 million, which is up more than 300% from the previous reporting period. For the data treasury has grown in both CFG holdings and also revenue streams. Now we earned around $16,000 in protocol fees and also 9.5 million in block reward equivalents for the CFG. For the CFG token itself, by trading, and the previous report, it was mentioned that 0.6 million and peak at 1.8 million daily trading volume. But recent weeks in May, we had daily above than $36 million in daily trading volume. So which is huge, and we believe that this surge aligns closely with launch of the deRWA tokens and also positive sentiment with Centrifuge V3 and also lots of partnerships and good news thanks to the BD team. With the V3 proposal, now Centrifuge token holders approved the minting of 150 million CFG tokens for the Centrifuge Network Foundation to facilitate the migration. In terms of supply and inflation, there's no unscheduled unlocks or emission changes. So current inflation stays at 3%. Circulating supply is 622 million and total supply is 679 million. So almost 90% of tokens are circulating already. Treasury has 5.47% of all the allocations. And for the token holders, right now we have 61,000 CFG holders and 7,000 wrap CFG holders. In total, it's 68,298. We have 63 whale accounts, 167 dolphin and fishes and shrimps. For the price, by the time we prepared the report, it's priced at $0.2 above this simple moving average of 7 and 30 days. And over the past month, and also previously we had downward trend to CFG price, but nowadays it's going upwards based on March. And performances of pools, we currently the main pool is Janus Henderson Enemy Treasure Fund, which is also related to Grand Prix we won with Sparks they allocated their funds to us. So in the beginning, we had initial allocation of 200 millions and followed by an additional 200 million, totaling over than 400 million towards Centrifuge brand assets. And in terms of TVL, in total, we have two pools. Right now, one is Claw's New Silver Series and the Janus Henderson Animal Treasure Fund. So in total, we have 500, almost $32 million total value locked. For the recent Treasury proposals, we had renewal of Treasury Advisory Group funding, and which is approved, and we have one rejected funding request for ADA tokenization platform development with Innovice. They requested around $164,000 worth of Centrifuge tokens. For the Centrifuge Treasury right now, currently we are holding 30 million Centrifuge tokens, which is almost around $6 million based on $0.2 per token. So Centrifuge Treasury is funded by three main sources. The first one, protocol fees, block rewards, and also pool fees. For the protocol fees, we have generated around $16,000. For block rewards, is by the inflation. So in total, we had 30 million block rewards. So if we dive into more, I'm just trying to wrap it up. You can also deeply read in we post on governance forum. So total fees accrued so far is $16,000. It started from March 28, 2024. For the block rewards, it's inflation, 3% total supply is minted per year into the CFG treasury. And also we have some liquidity provisioning outside of the CFG, which is based on at HydraDX liquidity. And for the next 6 months projections, if you take into account the inflation rate, almost 1.4 million CFG per month via block rewards transferring to Centrifuge Treasury. And in the conclusion, the first half of this year demonstrated strong potential as leading RWA tokenization platform, with price source driven by the partnerships and the efforts of BD team. While the team continues to deliver major announcements, and the confidence of the CFG and RWA space is steadily increasing. And feedback and disclaimer, those are not financial advices. Do your own research. If there's any question, we can answer the questions.
So there's one in the chat from John. What is the plan to incorporate a yield or burn mechanism for CFG holders? How should we think about the tokenomics considering 3% inflation and no offsetting economics at the moment? Ivan, do you have any thoughts on this?
About incorporating a yield or burn mechanism. I mean, on Centrifuge chain right now, we have the burn mechanism. We never applied it yet because really low volume, because the transaction fee is super low on Centrifuge chain. But maybe we can think about new utility on Ethereum I think that the Centrifuge team is definitely thinking about how to improve this situation. About the inflation, I think this is up to token holders. 3% is not ideal, but this is definitely lower than some protocols right now has. But it's always up to token holders decide if there will be any proposal to lower or increase it. We can discuss this, and after we can go to the on-chain or off-chain voting.
And maybe just to add, like, it's also, we're a DAO, right? So like, Mike, if you have any ideas or suggestions or concepts, like, you're also free to make any suggestions on the governance forum as well. Like, even the Centrifuge team might not know everything. And so any guidance or feedback, sorry, I think it was John who asked this, right? But like any feedback or guidance that you might have, feel free to comment or make a post in Centrifuge governance for conversation where we can work on something out.
I think that we have one more question for Jonathan.
Yeah, let's just wrap up this topic first before we move on to that. John, any thoughts on the responses there, if you can speak?
Yes, I can speak. Yeah, I think.
John Garcia with the plan to incorporate with his question, and then I'll pass back to you, John Castelline. Sorry.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So I guess it seems like the product is great. Customers like it, and it saves them money. And so just it seems like why set it at 0 when you're delivering value to customers, and it seems like it's a product they like. And so, you know, I guess that's the main part I want understanding. Am I missing something that people don't want to pay for it, or there actually is something of value here that you can charge people for, because everybody there gets paid. It's probably coming out of inflation, so why not have the customers pay for the products that they're using?
So yeah,
I saw that there was a 10 basis point, fee, or maybe it was 20 basis points. And then I've read that there's a 97% savings to customers. And so in some industries, you see them, where the company that's saving another party money might get 20% of the savings. So if you're saving them 100 basis points, it seems like 20 basis points at a minimum makes sense. And so why not charge people, I guess?
I mean, I'll just come in and answer. The reason for setting the fees was just so that we could be competitive when it came to the Maker Spark application. And that's worked out really well for us. I think we could argue that the TVL is more valuable in the short run than the fees. And obviously the fee discussion will be reopened again in the next few months in terms of adding the feedback to the protocol. So yeah, maybe just to answer like why it's there, and like it's not going to be forever. And obviously it was more of a so that we could be competitive in the Maker Spark Grand Prix, and yeah, it worked out well in the end.
Yeah, it's great to see the total value locked. I mean, that's kind of what drew me to it, even though I've been following you guys for probably 3 or 4 or 5 years now. So definitely huge to see that total value locked and the transition in the stable coins. So I'm just trying to understand what the path is more than anything else.
Yeah,
I think we can share it as from the DAO side of things in the next few weeks.
Okay, cool. So stay tuned, and as Graham said, that this is up to token holders to propose and discuss and to decide. So let's keep the conversation going. I'm just going to mute. Yeah. Okay, so any last questions for Cesar or Ivan, or anything on the Treasury Advisory report that we just saw before we move back to John Castelline? Okay, Thank you very much, Cesar. Really informative. Great work. Okay, so there was one follow-up question for you, John. Do you have it there? John Castelline?
I think I have it. Is it please walk us through how retail would have access to deRWAs, how a dApp like Spark can deploy money into it? Imagine a PE token. How can retail get exposure or projects? Can a user then use that to borrow in Spark or Aave?
I mean,
Yeah,
I can just
listen,
answer it, John, if you want.
yeah, go ahead. Sure.
So, I mean, on the DE products, like anybody will be able to go through the Centrifuge app and buy swap USDC for the underlying product. So like that's how retail will have access to it. Retail could also buy it via, like we're working to also make sure that from a retail perspective, you can buy it from a DEX or like Uniswap to make it really easy there. And that makes it very easy, like Spark to buy it as well, right? Like it's totally permissionless. Anybody can buy it. So if Spark want to directly integrate the contracts into buying the asset, very easy. And then yes, after a bit of TVL, we will work with the DeFi Lego providers like Morpho or Spark or Aave to be able to enable that asset as collateral. But that comes with time and TVL and trust for the asset, so it is something that will be on the roadmap.
Okay, thank you for that. Right. So that is all we have on the agenda for today. So we are finishing 15 minutes early. Just opening the floor for any last agenda items related to governance, Centrifuge governance, before we close. Okay, there's a message in the chat from Jay just warning everyone to keep an eye out for fake support groups on Telegram as the migration begins. So keep an eye out, be aware, and also report if you see anything. Thank you, Jay. Ryan?
I mean, I know it's not on the agenda, and I understand that Tag did not agree with what the ADE team is building and bringing to Centrifuge, but there's been a lot of updates. We're still going to move forward with putting up the proposal for the community to decide. And, you know, I've been a big proponent of Centrifuge for a long time now, for nearly 3 years. I was a little heartbroken personally when I read the tag assessment, not gonna lie. And but that's not gonna deter me. That's not gonna stop me from continuing to bring value to this ecosystem. And I would hope that I can, you know, get some support for the initiative. There's a lot of big things that are happening politically in El Salvador with the guys because of their connections. So I feel like this is going to be a massive opportunity for Centrifuge. And in fact, I just found out that I'm going to be sitting on a tokenization panel coming up at the University of Miami for their blockchain event next week. And you know that Centrifuge is going to come out of my mouth when I talk about tokenization. So I'm very excited to do that. I was like, oh, well, hey, what, how lucky, fortuitous that I'm going to talk about this. So John, I would, you know, and I need to read up on the new product too, just so I can use that as an example in the panel conversation about how easy it is to tokenize things. And I didn't think I had a chance to tell you guys this, and this is another potential opportunity, but when I was in the Dubai in the UAE, I found a gentleman who is the head of a family office, and they own 15,000 hectares of land in Africa, and they have it surveyed, and under about 600 some of these hectares, there's a lot of gold, and they're trying to find ways to tokenize this. There's no real infrastructure to get into it. He said it may as well be in a vault. So they're looking to kind of tap into that liquidity, and so hopefully this is another good opportunity for Centrifuge to engage in a conversation with novel ways to, you know, tokenize some, you know, interesting things that are out there in the real world. So just all that you guys are doing, I love the new direction, and I look forward to helping however I can.
Great, thank you, Ryan. And when can we expect your proposal for ADE? Any time frame?
I was just holding off on putting it up because of the whole counselor situation. Yvonne and I are going to hop on a call tomorrow. I do have the instructions from Orhan from the previous one that I did for the FBBA, so I pretty much remember how to put on chain, but I'm still going to just do it with Yvonne, just to make sure I don't screw up anything. I'm not a JS expert, so we're probably going to try and do that tomorrow. And then I know that it'll probably be on chain, and I have a meeting with the guys on Friday, so I'll let them know as well.
Okay, thank you for that. And yeah, it's good to see the contestation of ideas in governance at Centrifuge. Thank you. Okay, so that's us for governance call number 35. Please keep talking on the forum, and thanks for your attendance today and all the questions and everyone who presented.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, gang. See you guys.